that time again. It's Uncle Destiny here with you. It's time to get the last reading for this calendar year, which is going to be the reading for December. And we come upon the winter solstice soon as well. So let's see what the ancestors have to say, and we move forward from there. All right, so I've now thrown the bones, and here is what we've got. It's kind of it's an interesting layout because I can see there's multiple forms coming to mind. In one hand, we've got sort of a volcano or like a mountain, and here's what's maybe spewing out of it, but so much stuff that is building up underneath. But just as equally, we've got like a hand opening up and so many things being thrown loose from it. And I kind of feel there's a back and forth between something being contained and then something being released, depending on which direction it is. Now, the other aspect, too, is that the way these bones fell remind me of the greater than or less than sign. And it says to me over here that this is the less than side, this is the greater than side. Now, we've got, as I said, we've got a lot of there's a lot of motion in this. We also have a lot of things straggling off to the side. So let's go into the depth and see what we've got with these two bones, which are our main ones. This one is a family. This one, yet again, and since this is the third time it's come up, this is the social bone. So family and social. So there's a social aspect again coming up in this month of December that's going to be very big for all of us. And it coincides with family. So there's going to be a lot of issues, too, around how family and our social worlds interengage and interlock. But they're going in separate directions. So they're going to be, what I'm more or less sensing from that is that there's going to be a lot of people who will either turn and focus on their family, or there's going to be a lot of people who turn and focus on the social issues. Neither one is wrong. There are those people who need to focus on the smaller world, and there are those people who will need to focus on the bigger world. And that is, if you put it, the best way I put it is the division of labor. There is nothing wrong with somebody focusing on taking care of their family. It's only the problem that comes in is when they turn taking care of their family at the expense of others. Equally so, there are those whose time, energy, and focus is going to be best used at taking care of the greater social world. So don't fault them if they choose to focus their energy there rather than, say, into the family. Now, and so that's going to be that junction point. That's the point where they come together, but it's also the point that drives them apart. And so there's where we get that aspect of containment, but also that aspect of release. So we've got more than one energy going on in just this symbol. Now, what's furthermore is we look at some of the stuff that is, so we say, in the deepest point here where they intersect. We've got a number of the support bones. And this one's here is one of the tailbones, so that's about balance. But these, and there's another balance bone there, but these are also part of the spinal, so it's part of not only the central support system of the body, but also the mind. So there's going to be issues here where we need to find balance in the mind in dealing both with the family and with the social, but much more because it's a little closer to the social bones to be there that we need to focus on. Now, the other interesting thing here is we've also got the broken rib bone, which is that sharp point that is coming directly in, and it's coming about the midsection of this the social bone. So there's going to be a lot of strife. There's going to be a lot of focus. There's going to be a lot of character attacks that are coming towards those people and those situations that are social, and it's going to be right there in the middle. It's going to be something that you can't hide from. And it does have that ability to be divisive. But if you also notice that even though this rib bone, even though its point is small, it can still do damage, but it's not going to do the damage that will be necessary to splinter the bone. What I kind of hear with this is the aspect of looking at the problem of people who basically operate from the idea that they have to be right at all costs. I'm going to say that again. People who have to be right at all costs. When you're dealing with somebody like that, they will destroy anything and everything that can get in their way. So there's that aspect of that's what's prompting this sliver, this bone, to stab into it. Is their goal is to be right, that their way is right. And they will take anything down with them if they cannot be right. They have to be right. Doesn't matter what the damage does, doesn't matter what the impact is, they have to be right. And at which point we have to also not encourage that behavior. We don't want to engage that behavior ourselves. We can't really engage with them because, again, they cannot hear that they could be wrong. They cannot hear that they are causing harm because they are tied to being right. And that element that's being tied to that being right is an emotion. Whether it is anger, whether it is sadness, whether it is fear. Either one of those, it's all tied to that idea. I have to be right to abate this, to prove that this fear isn't part of me. I have to be right that this sadness can't get near me. I have to be right because this anger compels me. And that's part of what's going to be stabbing at our social commentary, our social world here, is that aspect of this person has to be right. And they will do everything possible to prove it, even if it means trying to harm the social fabric. So I know that's a rather sobering, but also disturbing image to hear. So if we travel a little further on, again, we have another support balance bone, which is one of the tailbones, going into a rib bone. And again, that's basically balanced out by another tailbone, which gives us balance. So we've got a matter of inspiration and balance. Now, the fact that this is next to the quartz crystal, which is also juxtaposed to the broken bone, says that this is also about memory. There is memories, there is thoughts of the past, experience of the past, which are compelling, especially these people who have to be right at all costs, but that have never really been healed, never really been properly processed. And the lesson which they've learned from this memory is one that they have to be right, as opposed to as opposed to seeing that aspect of we can be balanced, that there is something that you're going to lose, and the loss of this is that maybe greater than being right. So it's and that goes not just for this person or those individuals who are doing that I have to be right. It's also important for those of us who are going to be around watching, those people who are going to be engaging with them, is that there is a memory. And that's why I say there's emotion that gets tied to it. Because no matter how much detail we have in an experience, eventually all that remains can be the emotion. And it is that emotion that must be educated. It is that emotion that must be recognized. There's an emotion there that needs to be healed. And that's all about the memory. All right, so, and in many ways, this is also being supported by the shell, because again, we have it flipped on, we have the inside of the shell, which again is an inner aspect. It is that soft part. It is about the emotions. Now, and again, we have the piece of spinal bone and a piece of the tailbone for balance. And those two are reminded, it's both the interior, it's about the thought is thought, and it's here next to the family bone. So it's about also dealing with the family issues, the family emotions, and the memories. So in a way, it sort of forms a kind of wonky triangle here. So here's the two sides, and here's actually the base. So there's even more symbols in this. And the triangle is one of the basic form you can have in a polygon that is stable. So you have the stability. So in a way, we're looking at the stability of the society, the stability of the family, and the stability that comes with memory, and or lack thereof that comes with memory. So there's an internal standpoint that comes up. And what we then find ourselves drawn to is this, the other end of the broken rib bone. And the thought that comes here, that I'm hearing from the ancestors, there was a recent article here in the States, in San Francisco, that had recently built, that a statue had been erected to Chinese and Korean women who had been used as women of comfort for the Japanese army during their occupation of the region. And right now, some of Japan and Korea are not happy about that. And the thought that comes up, and the message I hear in this, is, we have such great stories about the redemption of heroes who have done terrible things and then spend their time rebuilding and trying to make amends for that. Yet we rarely hear about the concept of a country trying to redeem itself and make amends for what it did in the past. I mean, the closest I can think of right now that has that is probably Germany. But that doesn't mean that any other country is not needing to address and redeem itself for its actions of the past. And frankly, here in the U.S., that's probably a good example of dealing with the issues that have happened with the Japanese internment, slavery, the anti-Semitism, and presently the issues around anti-Islamism. So there's a broken bone here that's needing to be mended. And it's about not just mending the outer issue, it's about mending the inner. All right, moving on. So here, and since we're out I'm going to pull back for a moment. And you see we've got some definitely things on the outer perimeter. But we'll go ahead and talk about the copper piece. And the copper piece was also sitting next to a rib bone. And here again we have an issue of support, we have issues of inspiration and breath. And here it is spirit. And spirit is slightly off, but it's really that aspect of spirit is breathing and is waiting to see what the response is. It's taking that breath before it does whatever it's going to be doing next. It is pooling its energy again before it lets something loose. And it's taking that breath to it's taking that breath to step back and see, okay, what's outcome, what's going on, and then I need to engage again. Or do I need to step back? And it's that breath, it's that pause to stop and assess that is important. And this is what Spirit's doing. And Spirit wants us to be able to take a breath and assess the situation. And that's even more so with this aspect of right at all costs. These people who are doing right at all costs are not stopping. They aren't taking a moment to really stop and breathe and assess that being right can be destructive. And that's what Spirit is doing, is taking that moment to assess before it does what it's going to do next. Now, as we move into these other bones, and this is proving to be a longer reading than usual, I am drawn here. So we've got the tip of the tail bone and the top of the spinal column. And what I find is that aspect of tail to top, to tail to head. It's important to keep balance, but these are the things that we're holding on by our tails, and we're holding on by our teeth. We're holding on by our heads. And right now we need the two of them to balance things out. We need the two of them to function. We're at the tail end of something, but we're also at the beginning of something. What it's going to be, I don't know. That choice is still being made. That choice is what Spirit is taking the step back to breathe and see what the outcome of events are. What's going to come is going to be about the thoughts and the balancing the internal world and the memories and the emotions that have not been fulfilled, that have not been healed, that have not been addressed with the intent to heal, as opposed to the intent for revenge, the intent to be right at all cost. All right. So we'll get over these, and these are all coming in. These are elements of the next year. There's going to be a lot of wishes. There's going to be a lot of focusing on what balances us, what inspires us, what can we do with our intellect. And that's what we're seeing with these bones that are here at the edge. But these are also both the potential for greatness and they're also the potential for destruction. But again, it's going to be a matter of, are you breathing? Are you taking a moment to pause? Are you holding to the idea of everything that I have to be right at all cost? I know I didn't mention these little group here, but this is that aspect of what's going to be on the outside. There is an aspect of the amount of balance, and there's balance that is coming in, and it's coming in much more angled towards the societal aspect, because no matter how much family survives, if it doesn't have a society to live in, it's not going to flourish. So, where is this balance and support that is needed in this triangle of existence? So, this is Uncle Destiny. I'm going to be signing off for the rest of 2017. I wish you all blessings. On behalf of the ancestors, they wish you Ashe, and they wish you growth and happiness. May the solstice, may these holidays be ones that are healing. May they be ones that help us resolve what hasn't been done. See you until 2018.